I'm very excited to welcome Scott, our founder and CEO, who will be moderating today's webinar. Scott, the floor is yours.
All right, Trevor, thanks so much for the intro, and thanks everybody for joining. Just want to do a quick audio check. Just thumbs up. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Mike. Well, thanks everybody for taking some time out of your day. We really appreciate it. We've got people joining on the East Coast and the West Coast. So good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. I'm super excited for our webinar today. And if this is your first time joining us on one of our webinars, welcome. If you're coming back and you participated in a previous one, thank you for joining us again. We're going to give you some links and some details in terms of how you can find out more in terms of some of the other events that we've done. But today I am really excited about what we have in store. I want to make a special welcome to Tina Chiao, who's the Director of Development and Communication, and Andrea Soo, who's the leader of Physiotherapy at the BC Centre for Ability. As Trevor had mentioned, my name's Scott Billows, and I am excited about today for a couple of reasons. First and foremost is the mission of the BC Centre for Ability. So Bccfa, as you may hear me refer to them throughout today, is a long-standing customer of ours. We have worked with them for over 3 years on their digital transformation. And so they have an incredible story to share. And our two guests, Andrea and Tina, thank you so much. I know that, Andrea, we had a couple of technical issues getting you joined to the call today. So thanks for the quick pivot. And we've got both of you on one tile here in Zoom. So thanks so much to both of you. The second reason I'm super excited for today is both of our panelists that are going to be speaking really come from two different perspectives. So they're going to give a little bit of an introduction to themselves in a minute, but we're going to be really tackling this discussion from two different vantage points, which is a bit unique in terms of other events that we've hosted. So excited about that. And with that, I want to jump right into things because we're going to go through a few minutes and have a conversation with our guests from BCCFA, and then we're going to transition into a little bit of a discussion around the technology. And we've got one of our colleagues from Salesforce who's going to be leading that here as we move through this today. So I'm going to get started with asking Andrea if you wouldn't mind doing an introduction and just tell us, I guess, a little bit about your role and your what you do at BCCFA. All right. And Tina, are you on mute? Can you do a quick sound check?
Hello, can you hear me? Is that better?
There we go.
Sorry.
Loud and clear.
I was on mute. Perfect. Sorry about that. Great. Well, thank you everyone for having me today. I'm really excited to be part of this. My name is Andrea, and I'm the leader of Physiotherapy at the BC Centre for Ability. Just to give a bit of background, I've been with the BC Centre for Ability since 2008, so a number of years, working as a physiotherapist clinically in our early intervention therapy program, providing services for children from 0 to 5 who have developmental delays and disabilities. I've transitioned to a leadership role recently over about the past year, and I'm really excited to be supporting the teams here doing this meaningful work.
That's awesome. That's great. Thank you for that. Tina, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Tina, and I'm the Director of Development and Communications at BC Centre for Ability. So I oversee all things related to fund development, so fundraising, philanthropy, and marketing communications. So I'm also a client family. I have a son who's 14 years old, and he has quite severe disabilities. He has a number of diagnoses, and we've been a client family for about 12 years at the center. So I think I'll be more representing my client persona today versus staff.
That's great. And I'm really excited about that part of our discussion today. Maybe before we get into that, Tina, can you just give a bit of background on the mission of BCCFA?
Yeah, BCCFA's mission is to lead in the design and delivery of community-based services for persons with disabilities. And we've been delivering quality services for children, youth, and adults with disabilities and their families since about 1969. We are the largest community-based provider of child development services in British Columbia, and we're considered provincial leaders in our field. We were founded with the goal of creating inclusive communities and a sense of belonging. And we use approaches that are compassionate and evidence-based to help families enhance their child's development and successfully navigate life transitions. So we do serve across the lifespan, and our commitment is to provide outstanding support to families and ensure the positive health of each client that we serve. We provide support to children, youth, and adults, like I mentioned before, through a variety of services that Andrea will share about shortly.
Okay. And in total, how many programs are being run through the center?
Oh gosh, I want to say probably about 12, over 9,
12.
probably about 12.
9 to 12? Yeah.
And
So,
we serve about 1,400, 4,000, 4,000 clients, I think, a year. Yeah,
right.
4,000.
Right. So great example of a multi-program organization across a wide variety of provide a wide variety of services across these different programs, and so that's really cool. Andrea, love to get an overview from you on I guess the programs that are being offered, and share, if you can, just some examples within your domain that you work within.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so as Tina mentioned, we have a variety of programs going all the way from birth into adulthood. I specifically work with the Early Intervention Therapy Program, which provides therapy services, so physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech language pathology, as well as social work services to children from birth to school age. We work alongside a supported child development program, which provides consultation to children that are in any kind of preschool or daycare programs. And they also assist with extra staffing, extra financial assistance to those programs when children are in need of extra support. So those are a couple examples for children programs. We also have a number of social work programs that span from young childhood to older childhood. And included in that would be our key worker program that supports children that have complex behavioral disorders or fetal alcohol syndrome disorder, right through to our adult programs. And so we have a number of adult programs, such as the Opportunities Fund, that helps adults with disabilities, or adults with diverse abilities as well, finding meaningful employment, and our Thrive program, which helps youth that are post-secondary graduates also finding some meaningful work. So we have a wide spectrum of programs throughout the center. And I think, one thing that's been really exciting is Salesforce has really increased that communication and collaboration between some of our programs, and very specifically, some of those programs that we might be seeing children concurrently. So we now have a system that we can collaborate together on the same system versus kind of being in different silos.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember the first time I met your executive director, Josh. We talked about some of the challenges that were going on in the organization, specifically around the sharing of information. And so it's exciting to hear that Salesforce has brought some cohesiveness to sharing stories across your clients and across programs, which is a really great segue into talking a little bit about what your experience has been, Tina. And as I had referenced in my introduction, I'm really excited about this because it's not very often that as a Salesforce implementation partner, we get the opportunity to talk to our customer's customer. And in this particular case, you actually represent both. So you work at the BC Center for Ability, but as you introduced, you have a child that receives services from CFA. And I'd love to just unpack that a little bit and understand from you what that impact has been. And perhaps you could reflect a little bit on, what it used to look like and what things look like today through the eyes of client family.
Sure. Well, we joined BC Center for Ability, like I said, about 12 years ago. My son was probably not even diagnosed with all his diagnoses at the time. He does have neurodevelopmental disorders. He has an intellectual disability, autism. He has severe speech language delay, so he's not that verbal. He is a little bit verbal. But yeah, I would say about 12 years ago, the landscape was a little bit different for families with disabilities. It was hard to navigate. The BC Center for Ability was one sort of safe, welcoming place that provided services that we needed. We didn't even really know at the time what services were out there and what we needed for our son. He hadn't, like I said, he hadn't been diagnosed yet, but we knew that he was really different and he was developmentally so delayed. One of the first services that we had access to was some of the social work services. So for families who needed counseling, we were able to receive those services, social work services, as well as early intervention. So our son first started with an occupational therapist and a speech language pathologist at the center. And, this was a place we would come for our in-community visits. And the center was really founded out of that. It was, a need for families at the time back in, the 60s to have services in their community and not to receive services like in institutions and to be like institutionalizing their children. So for us to be able to have a center to go to that was so close to, our home and in the community, an opportunity to network with other families. Eventually, we received supported child development program services. So that allowed my son to go to after-school programs or daycare programs when he was younger and receive one-to-one support from a support worker. So we've really been able to benefit from like a vast array of services from the center. And just really grateful to be able to be connected in that way.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear, and something that Tina, you and I have had a few conversations about in the time we've known each other is the how you described the services that were received, but in terms of what Salesforce has done for client families, and so I'd love for you to unpack that for those of us that are here today to understand. What has the impact been of bringing Salesforce into the organization through the eyes of a client family?
Yeah, I think anybody who has who knows somebody who lives with a disability knows that there's so much admin work that has to be done. Like there's so much work for families to do. It's almost like running, I always use the analogy of like it's almost like running a side business when you have a family member with a disability, because you have so much paperwork to navigate. There's so many resources out there. They're really all kind of disjointed. They're not all interconnected. There's the ministry that provides funding for certain individuals with certain diagnoses. And then there's these resources and programs that exist in different agencies. And there's just like over the years, we've collected like bankers' boxes of paper and documentation and forms we've filled out. It's really exhausting. It's endless. And I think, the same was for the center. Like the center was not this perfect agency, where everything was seamless. No, I mean, we had to fill out forms, triplicate forms. Like I would have to handwrite all my documentation. I would have to like either deliver the documents in person, had to triple sign things. And if I was delivering it in person, I had to make sure that I was like mailing them and they were received in time, like to be able to meet the contract deadlines that were put out for various funding contracts through the center as well. So it was really, having a child with a disability is so stressful already. And then the added layer of all the admin and the paperwork that comes with it is a whole nother level of exhaustion. So it is like running a business, but there's, there's no real like profit to it or gain to it, except that like there's just so much to do. I think with Salesforce and the implementation of the parent portal, it really streamlined things to be able to fill out a form online, have it submitted online, not have to mail documents, not having to print them and scan them. I mean, we're one of the fortunate families that have the resources and have the tools at home. Like we do have a printer, we do have a scanner. Like I can't imagine for the families that don't have those means. I think it would have been so much harder. But Salesforce has really simplified things. I get a notification now that there's a document on the parent portal that I need to go into and sign and fill out, and then it's so automated now. So really cut down on obviously the paper, but also just the time spent for my husband.
That's incredible. I know that as we were working through that first project together, one of the objectives, one of the goals that was set was to just reduce the burden on families and on parents. And since we started this journey together, we as a world have navigated just this incredible I guess time in our lives where we used to all go to work in a physical office, and then we went to home, and some of us are somewhere in between today, and just what you've described, the challenges of having to print paper, sign documents, put them in an envelope, get them in the mail, and that process is just repeating itself to today now using a digital tool that can be accessed really from anywhere, and just the efficiency that you've spoken to. And I know that in my conversations with members of the BCCFA team, just hearing how efficient that process is internally, and the reduction of steps and printing of paper and the expense and cost of mailing documents back and forth has been really transformational in the organization. So that's really, really cool to hear. And Tina, thanks for sharing that. It's pretty cool to just have been able to unlock that understanding in my own mind. Sitting on this side of the table, implementing Salesforce for numerous organizations, it's pretty rare that we actually get to hear directly from a parent that is using this technology. Transitioning to another question, one of the goals of implementing what we'll call a common system or a system that we can share information was to share knowledge across the organization. And one of the measurable benefits has been the time and financial savings of sharing information between families in the center. I'd love to understand, and Andrea, maybe I can direct this question to you. Are there some other measurable gains that you've experienced beyond what Tina has described in terms of this documentation process?
I think the documentation process is huge for sure, and that's been great. I think one of the other things is now that we're sharing a common system between programs, like I mentioned before, so the early intervention program, for instance, and the supported child development will often share clients. And previously, it was sometimes hard, even though we were part of the same organization and serving the exact same child and family, it was difficult to know who was on the team and how to collaborate with each other. So now that we're sharing the same system, we're able to maintain our confidentiality between programs. We're also able to share information together. And this makes it really easy for a staff member to kind of really easily open up a child's file and see, oh yeah, they're involved with this person from this program. And right there within Salesforce, you're able to send a quick chat or message to that person. And the same thing coming back to the documentation. So same thing comes back from, they can see that this staff member has already sent that document. So say our consent forms before each program had to do separately because we had no way to see what the other program had already done, but it's the exact same form for the exact same family. So now we're able to go in and see this child's already seeing this person. they have already signed this consent form, that's great. I don't need to redo it. And so it's saving time for the staff and also, as Tina mentioned, for the families, not having to do multiples of the same thing for the same organization.
That's awesome. You've referenced a couple of the tools that exist in Salesforce. Chatter was the example you gave, where you're able to message between staff members about a common client. And I guess my assumption is pre-Salesforce, that was email, or that was just conversation meetings that had to be booked, and or that conversation didn't happen maybe to the degree that you're now experiencing, which is really, really cool. And I know that for many of our customers that are running programs, what you've just described in terms of the efficiencies is something that many of them are looking for. And so Salesforce certainly has proven to be the tool to help you accomplish this. We just have a couple of minutes before we're going to transition into the next part of our session here today. And so I'll ask, I guess, one more question. As you think about the future of delivering services to your clients, do you see Salesforce, so do you, and I guess how do you see Salesforce continuing to play a role in the lives of your clients?
I can start with that one. If Tina wants to add anything, she can. And I think, we spoke to this parent portal. We can also apply a client portal, because we do have youth and adults that access the system directly as well. So we have this parent client portal. And I really see that being such an important tool for our organization moving forward when we're delivering a variety of programs that span the lifespan from birth to adulthood. We're thinking about programs that are running concurrently for families or transitioning from one program to another. I really see this as a place for families to access information. And I really also see it as a place where there can be shared goals. So the family's goals are shared between programs, so that we can ensure that all team members are working together to really support a family, a child, or a client to reach their personal goals.
Yeah, I think just to add to Andrea's point, like just having Salesforce implemented across the lifespan, like I don't think our adult program will probably eventually be going on to Salesforce, but for now, they're doing things the old way. So I think for adults to be able to go onto the client portal themselves and access their own information and be able to share in that sort of more efficient way, I think will really, really change things. So.
Awesome. Well, that's really exciting to hear in terms of just the impact and the growth that you see happening. And just before we transition, one of the things that we find with these webinars is we have people joining and listening live, and then we have many that watch these recordings after. And Tina and Andrea, we would love to enable people to get in contact with both of you. And so are you okay if we have people reach out directly and if they have other questions?
Yeah, we'd welcome it.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, and with that, we're going to have some time towards the end to go through some Q&A. So if you do have questions, please throw them into the chat, or you're welcome to ask them once we get to that portion. But with that, we're going to transition into a brief overview of the Salesforce technology as it pertains to organizations like BC Centre for Ability. And one of my favorite individuals at Salesforce, his name is Mike Brown. Mike, I'm pumping your tires here, but Mike and I have known each other for quite some time. And Mike, with that, I'm going to pass it over to you and let you share your screen and walk us through a few things.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. And right back at you. You and the Belmar team are also some of my favorite people on the planet, and I love working with you on projects to deliver value to our customer organizations. Got my screen up here. Can everyone see my screen? Awesome. Audio's coming through okay. Awesome. So I'm a core solution engineer here at Salesforce.org, and I'm really excited to show you probably one of my top 3 impact solutions here at Salesforce.org, and that is the case management solution built on the Salesforce Cloud for nonprofits. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to walk you through how some social services organizations leverage Salesforce for nonprofits to accelerate their mission. The Stakeholder 360, what you see on the screen, is at the core of that solution, unifying all data sources into a single location, allowing you to connect into several other tools that your organization may use to fulfill your mission and connect with your stakeholders. This gives your team a view of every stage of the stakeholder journey, allowing you to connect billing into referrals and intakes and enrollment all across the board. So allow me to begin our demonstration today by introducing you to our central persona. This is Joe Williams. So Joe Williams is a current client at Steps, and Steps is a fictitious organization we're going to use today to show you the value of Salesforce from a user's point of view when engaging with a client like Joe. And by virtue of the comprehensive support Joe has received from Steps, she has a new hope for the future. And she is ready to dive back into her upskilling program at Steps in pursuit of a higher wage job so that she can be best positioned for success in the future. Now, what we have here on the screen is a standard case management journey on the Salesforce platform, from inbound referral all the way through the enrollment process, down perhaps out to an outbound referral, as well as many organizations work with partners to fulfill needs that their organization may not do in-house. This is more than we have time to show today, so I'm going to highlight a couple of very high-value components of this case management solution. So we're going to begin with an inbound referral. We'll then process an intake to make sure that Joe is qualified for this job training program. We'll then pause for a moment and take a look at Joe's contact record, the Stakeholder or Client 360 on the Salesforce platform, to show you how we bring together that data across all touch points. We'll then build a case plan out for Joe so that she has a set of goals and action items that she can use on a pathway to success. We'll then show a client portal that Tina and Andrea were talking about, where Joe has access to her information. She can look at her goals. She can sign documents and update her information, also chatter with her case manager at Steps. Then we'll finish up with a very high-level overview of some dashboards and reporting to track those key metrics that social services organizations care about when managing their client population. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm logged here into Salesforce, and the very first thing I want to say is that these pages that you're going to see are highly configurable, and that's where Belmar and team adds a tremendous amount of value in configuring these pages, these workflows for your organization and the personas at your organization. So everyone sees exactly what they need, all the noise is cut out, and you can be very efficient in your role at the organization. So I'm here on the home page. Seems like I've served quite a few clients this week, but I've got a number of data points here at my fingertips to allow me to jump right into my day. I get an overview of my day's events. We can sync this out to your Outlook or your Gmail calendar. I've got a view of my inbound referrals, and referrals can come from anywhere, as you know. They could be internal. They could become inbound from the website. Could be a call-in or an email. You can centralize all of those on a home page. Then we have a dashboard, and I promise you we'll come back here toward the end. Just wanted to show you that it's here because many organizations like to begin their day with a finger on the pulse of metrics that you really care about. So let's dive into that inbound referral. I've got it right here in this related list. Notice that I've got these pencil icons here as well. This is tremendously helpful. I don't have to open the record to begin interacting with it. I can do that right here from the home screen and really move through these quickly. This one from Joe Williams here is high priority, so I'm going to go ahead and click into that. Now, as I click into this inbound referral, I can see information about it. Like, what was the referral organization? What are some interesting notes and important notes about the referral that I should know? What's the priority of the case? And on here, the first thing I'm going to do to let my colleagues know that I have it and I'm working on it, I'm going to change the stage to working. Now, I'm also going to begin the intake process from here as well. And I've actually got two buttons to do that because we like to give users opportunities to click where they need to, where they are on the page, to make sure they're efficient and can move quickly through this process. So I'm going to go ahead and click on intake up there. This is going to start the process to get Joe qualified into and hopefully enrolled into this job training program. Very first part here, I'm also going to update my stage, say that we're in progress, and I'm going to select an intake checklist. And the idea here, whether you have a global intake process or one for each of your programs, you're going to standardize a set of best practices for your case managers or intake team members to get the right information from the client based on the program destination they are going toward. You can have complete overlap or partial overlap, but the idea is you can reuse some of this to reduce your admin time. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Job Readiness Program and create that checklist. This is now going to guide me as the case manager through this intake process to ask the right questions, gather the right documents, and move through this. You can actually make sure that this is a non-linear process as well. So as I collect a little bit of information here, a little bit of information there, you can set these as tasks to be assigned to the intake user who's creating this to come back and do them later if they're not completed at this particular moment. Now, since Joe is an existing client at Steps and we have a lot of information about her here, we think she's qualified to move into the next step, which is actually enrolling her in the program. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and say that she is approved on this intake, and we're going to create what Salesforce calls a new program engagement. That's the intersection of the stakeholder and the program. So joining those two together creates that program engagement. So go ahead and put her into this job training program. Cohorts you can do is assign as well. Those will group your clients together based on some metric that's important to you, whether it's geography, start date, or any other attribute. We'll say she is now active and her start date is today. Go ahead and save. And now Joe is ready. She's enrolled in this program. She has the opportunity to participate in all of the services that are part of this program as well. Let me show you her contact record. So as we build this out, you're going to see this transform over time as we add more information to her contact record by virtue of her participation in programs. And all of that's going to be automated. So as I scroll down here, this is a list of all of the program engagements that Joe is currently a part of. We can see here on a single screen that Joe is active in the food access program. She's now active in the job training program. And she's also recently completed the permanent housing program. And the value here is that many organizations who are new to Salesforce may be coming off disparate systems or spreadsheets used to track these in different places and may not be able to get that holistic view of the full context of a client's engagement with your organization. And this screen right here really brings that all together. And speaking of contextual engagement in information, looking at client notes. And I'm just going to go ahead and extend this date here back a little bit so you can see the notes on the screen. But this will allow you to get up to speed quickly on what meetings your case managers have had with Joe historically. And you can also permission some of this out. Some of this may be sensitive information. You don't want all case managers seeing particular involvement in certain programs. That is absolutely possible. But you can also extend it to everybody so everyone sees everything and get the full context of this relationship. You can filter this, you can sort this as well. We also have case plans, and case plans allow you to set those goals and action items, and we're actually going to build one of those out as well right now for Joe. One of the great things about this is that Salesforce gives you the capability to create one universal case plan for each client that takes in goals for all of their programs, or you can also separate them out individually. I'm just going to call this Joe Job Readiness. And we're going to tag Joe here as the contact and click on Next. This is what I was talking about. You see, I can select all of these programs and put goals for each so that Joe has one place to go for all of her goals and action items and tracking her progress. Or you can separate this out by program, should that make more sense for your organization. I'm going to select job training for now. I'm going to pick a few goals. Notice we have one that's default. So we're going to say all clients who go through this program should have this as one of their goals. I'll add a couple of more. And now we'll pick our action items. So what are the tasks in pursuit of those high-level goals that we'd like Joe to do? So I'll go ahead and grab a couple of these as well. And then before we complete this, we have an opportunity from the case manager's point of view to review this case plan. Did I capture all the information? Are these the right goals for Joe? I can always go back and edit, add more, remove some, but for now, let's say that is perfect. Now, this case plan is kind of a journey for success, right? It's a list of items and tasks that you as a case manager can discuss with your clients as you're engaging with them over the phone or in person as they're going through your programs. Also might help you identify additional wraparound services that you can refer Joe into or clients like Joe to ensure they're taking advantage of all of these services that your organization has to offer. We can go in here and update due dates, mark these as in progress, assign them to certain staff members, right? And as I mentioned before, all of this is visible on the client portal, should you wish your clients have access to it from a self-service point of view. So let's go over there now. So here's a sample portal here for Joe. And I can see here as I scroll down, I've got case plan progress. I can jump into any one of these top level programs. I can also review upcoming and overdue action items. You heard earlier, there's a way to engage with your case manager through chatter. That's what this is right here. We can tag from a client's point of view, can tag our case manager, ask them to review something, ask a question. You can review your case team. So who are you working with at the organization? How do you get in contact with them? Phone numbers, email, chatter. You choose what information you'd like to reveal there to your clients. As I click into this in progress case plan, from Joe's perspective, right? Joe can see all of the goals. She can mark them as started or completed or in progress, and then tag her case manager should she need to get feedback, right? So as Joe read, I can say this is go ahead and in progress. I can upload any files over here. And we heard about how useful that is earlier, rather than having to fax those in or scan and email them in. You can do that right here on the portal and save time for your client and also save time for your team member in inputting those documents manually as they all go right back into Joe's contact record on the CRM. Now let's head back into the CRM to wrap up our demonstration portion for today. I want to show you some of those metrics. And to do that, I'm going to head back to the home screen. So on this home screen, I've got two sets of dashboards, and there's a slight nuance between them that I want to call your attention to. The first one here is an out-of-the-box dashboard. This is native dashboard functionality from Salesforce. It gets you the metrics you care about. You can subscribe to these, which is great, have them delivered to your inbox at whatever cadence you would like. You can also open these up to collaborate around them and chatter a coworker. Let's say you're preparing for a meeting. This is going to take a snapshot of that dashboard at that particular moment in time. And you can ask someone for feedback or to investigate the data that's underlying the dashboard. All of these have a hot link to the underlying report to dive in and get more information should you need to. The other part of this I wanted to call out is our Tableau reporting capabilities. So this is an add-on. This particular dashboard you see is what we call an accelerator. And this is available out of the box. You simply download it and it works. So it gives you additional reporting capabilities, additional BI capabilities, as well as the ability to see things differently, like let's say by geography down here, allowing you to narrow in if you're serving a diverse geographic client population. This will help you narrow in on certain segments and geographies very quickly and easily. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I'm going to pass the floor back over to Trevor and Scott to take us into the next segment of our webinar.
Great, Mike. Thanks for that. And it's always cool to just see different ways that Salesforce can be used to serve the mission of our clients. And we're going to transition into a time of Q&A. So if you haven't already put questions into the chat, please go ahead and do that. But I had a few questions that I guess came out of what Mike has shared that I'm actually going to ask Tina and Andrea about, and it's more related to just the use of Salesforce within BC Center for Ability. And so you had Tina, you described the process of, I'm not sure if you used the word intake, but just in terms of actually getting started as a client with BC Center for Ability. When you would have started that years ago with your son, it would have been quite different from what it is now. I guess I'll open this question up to either one of you. Can you describe for us what that intake process is like today, and how that works internally when a new client puts up their hand and is asking for services?
I'll let you respond to
Yeah,
that.
of course. I can start with that one. I mean, it has changed dramatically with our whole digital transformation process. So right now, we have our referral forms are electronic for most of our programs. Families, children, clients can self-refer. So it's all available on our website, the referral form, and they can fill it out electronically. And then it goes straight, once they've completed it, it will go straight into our system. Whereas before it was often faxed in or mailed in, and this paper copy, and it went from someone's desk to another person's desk. But now it just gets electronically uploaded into the system, and it's visible for all of us. So we do have, for instance, in our early intervention program, we have an intake coordinator. She has lists. We also all have access to the list. So all the leaders, our admin staff, so that way if somebody calls up and asks, you know, did this client get referred, or did this family get referred, we can just easily check and be able to have that information right at hand, instead of wondering if it's in some paper file before it gets uploaded to the system. So that's been really great. And I think the other thing to mention too is talking about between programs. Sometimes we accidentally get referrals from another program, and we can easily transfer it from program to program as well.
That's awesome. Andrea, it sounds like that process has certainly improved from, I mean, I can't even remember the last time I would have sent a fax, but sounds like that used to be the process, and now prospective clients can go online and fill out that form. Do you have any metrics to share in terms of some of the efficiency that the organization is seeing as a result of this electronic intake process?
I don't, off the top of my head, I don't have any specific numbers. I mean, talking about our early intervention therapy program more specifically, so our intakes from time of we received a referral to the time that they had a client has a service plan ready to go, like they know who they're seeing, when they're seeing, and or if they're eligible. That used to be a long process, taking sometimes up to 3 months for one client, just from time of referral to service plan. Just in gathering all the information. And now for our program specifically, we've decreased that, and it's about 3 weeks now on average. And some people get through quicker, and some people take a bit longer, just depending on what we're waiting for. But on average, it's about 3 weeks now. So that's been a huge improvement. Yeah,
that's a huge change. Love to understand from your perspective, the Salesforce reporting and dashboards. Mike shared a little bit about that, but what can you tell us in terms of some of the efficiencies that you're seeing as it pertains to being able to run reports and view data through a dashboard?
Well, as a leader in the organization, it's been huge. I mean, just our ability to customize reports to what we're looking for, and just the power with that's been amazing. So I'm able to set up a dashboard, or have our ITQ and some of our support staff set up a dashboard for me, and be able to easily see at a glance, you know, what is happening this month, you know, how many new referrals did we get? You know, what is our time spent in client service? I can really easily see at a quick glance on one screen what is happening. And then it allows me as a leader to be able to easily click on something that I see that, oh, this isn't what we want it to be. What's going on? And I'm able to find kind of some reasons and be able to act on that a bit quicker now.
Okay. Yeah, dashboarding and reporting in Salesforce sounds like it's making a huge impact to just your ability to make decisions and just keep things moving forward. I'd like to transition to my next question around staff engagement. We, as a implementation partner that works with clients that are at various points of their journey with Salesforce, one of the questions that we often get is it's just around like how do I get my staff to adopt this? How do I get them to engage? Andrea, with your team, can you share some tips on things that you're seeing and you're doing with your team to keep them engaged?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a bit of an ongoing learning process for us. And so as part of that, we're lucky really at the BC Center for Ability to have what we call an ITQ team, so an information technology and quality team. And they've really led our project on Salesforce. And so what they've enabled us to do is to have that ongoing education piece. So thinking about a lot of our staff are really focused on the clinical work, and they use Salesforce to do their documentation, to do their notes. So they're not sitting at the computer all day, so that keeping up to date and tips and tricks has been really useful. And we've been able to have kind of lunch and learns, like how do I do this more quickly, or how do I find this information more quickly, or ways to optimize the use of Salesforce. So we've been having kind of that ongoing education, and then also ongoing improvements we've been able to say, hey, I'd really like to be able to do this. And so our ITQ team's able to take that away and see what's possible.
That's great. Thanks for that. I guess in terms of like this discussion around engagement and adoption, it's always something that is on the minds of customers, and it sounds like Bccfa are really facilitating opportunity for staff to get together and to engage and to really socialize over how they're using Salesforce, which I think is a great tip for us. One of the questions that I've been asked, and one that comes up again often from customers is, does a Salesforce implementation need to be done as one big project, or can it be done in a series of phases or smaller projects? And Andrea, maybe I'll direct this one back to you, because I know you're hands-on with Salesforce and you're leading a team that's using the tool. Can you just describe the process that BCCFA went through in terms of how Salesforce was implemented from a phased point of view?
Yes, of course. So we have implemented in phases, and it's been in a couple of different ways. We've brought different programs on at different times as well, because each program has their unique needs. So different programs have been brought onto Salesforce at different times. And the other piece is kind of opening up pieces of Salesforce at different times. So when, say, our program first started, the early intervention therapy program first started with Salesforce, we didn't have access to the parent or client portal. And although that was very important, there was a lot to learn for staff from the get-go as to how to use a new system. And we were transferring all of our data from the old system. So we rolled it out first. We wanted staff to get really comfortable in how they're using the system on a day-to-day basis. And then we were able to bring in the very important piece of how do we now have families engage with the system as well. So that's one thing that we did to help staff really help their engagement, is to break those two pieces up.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point around change management, and you spoke to internal change management with your own staff, but you also referenced your clients. Can you give any tips or ideas for how clients were trained and onboarded to using this new system?
Well, I think with the way that we rolled it out, we wanted to make sure staff were really comfortable using the system first, because staff our clinicians, and our other staff are those who have that direct contact with families. So by doing it in 2 steps for us, we were able to ensure that staff were then able to help families. So we rolled it out, the family portal. Our admin staff was able to roll it out, providing that information electronically to all the families. But then it kind of came down to our staff that works directly with the families to kind of help answer some of those questions in person as to, oh, how do I do this, or how do I access this? And so that's been really helpful.
Great. Yeah. What I've heard you say has reminded me of when our teams, I should say, were in flight with your project, and the discussions that were happening around the best way to adopt. And your organization started with one program, the Supported Childhood Development Program, and that led to other program areas coming on board with Salesforce. And through that journey, the learning that took place internally around how to implement a tool like Salesforce, and how to take a wide array of ideas that end users might have in terms of we'll call it features that they'd like to see in this new tool that's being implemented, and really distilling that down to a common set of data points that could be shared across the organization. Because some of the things I've heard you say today are the ability to easily move case files from one program to another, or to collaborate on one client, and to do that efficiently, we need a common language, and each program area may have their uniqueness, but there's a common layer for each client that is spoken through the organization. So it's really cool to just hear you articulate how some real thought went into the implementation of Salesforce across these various phases. So we're getting close to our time here for this webinar today. I wanted to I guess put this question back to yourself, Tina, in terms of as a parent who has been using Salesforce, and just the incredible story that you've shared with us today in terms of your family. What are you seeing? And I know that you're not as hands-on with Salesforce, but what are you seeing in the organization, just in terms of some of the benefits that have come from the organization across the board now using Salesforce?
Yeah, I mean, from a client parent perspective, like, I think the staff are enjoying how efficient the things are. Like, I've noticed that when the staff who work with me as a client or a parent, when they're sending me communication, or they're requesting information from me, they don't need the long timelines that they used to. Like, it used to come out way in advance, and then I'd have a lot of time to like print the document, complete it on paper, you know, whether it was like scan it and email it back, or hand deliver it or mail it. Like, I think the ease of use for them has really, like, I've really noticed that it seems quite efficient. They're not needing the turnaround times that they would have in the past. So I think as a parent, I'm noticing that for sure.
That's great. Awesome. So last, I guess, comment to our guests is you were gracious in saying folks can get in touch with you. And so what we'll do is we'll share contact information in some follow-up communication that we're going to send following this event. So thank you both, Andrea and Tina, for joining us today, and for really just sharing your story. And it's been amazing just to hear the different stories and experiences that you've had, and really the impact that the BC Centre for Ability is having in the community. And so for myself and our team, and I know from the team at Salesforce, we just want to say thank you for the impact that you're having in the community. Mike, thanks so much for joining us today. And with that, everybody, I'm going to pass it back to my colleague Trevor, who's going to wrap things up for us today. But for myself, thank you so much for joining, and it's been great to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. And everyone, that concludes our webinar for today. Thanks for joining us. And yet again, I know Scott did the thank yous, but Tina and Andrea, thank you so much. And Mike as well, for the Salesforce story. This recording will be available on our Belmar YouTube channel, so it will be there if you need to look at it. Please follow our social media, stay up to date with events, but also please follow BCSFA's social media as well. And with that, thank you everyone and have a great rest of your week.